Hello friends, and welcome to January's Book Scouts. Now this month is my birth month, so I wanted to highlight some of my very favorite books from our library's collection for you. And since it's so hard for me to narrow down my favorites, instead of sharing 5 book recommendations with you in this video, I'm going to share 10. So buckle in and here we go. The first 3 books I'm going to share with you today are middle grade chapter books. First up, we have Princess Academy by Shannon Hale. In Princess Academy, life on Mount Eskel is difficult for Miri, who dreams of working alongside her people in the quarry. However, her overprotective Pa thinks she is too small to handle the backbreaking work. Miri's pursuit of her goal becomes even more difficult when the king's priests determine that the prince's future bride will come from Mount Eskel. All the girls in the village are forced to attend an academy to prepare them for royal life before the prince comes to choose one of them. Miri must learn to stand up for what she and the other girls want for their own futures. Next up, we have Refugee by Alan Gratz. Refugee is a masterfully written story of 3 refugees from 3 different time periods. Joseph and his family are fleeing Nazi Germany during the 1930s. Isabel and her family board a raft from Cuba to America in 1994, and Mahmoud runs from the destruction in Syria with his family in 2015. They face many unspeakable tragedies, yet also experience great hope, and the way their stories are woven together showcases how humans can overcome great injustice and heartache if we help each other. I think everyone should read this book, both children and adults. Next up is a graphic novel called All's Fair in Middle School by Victoria Jameson. As an avid fan of Renaissance festivals, I'm all too excited to talk to you about All's Fair in Middle School by Victoria Jameson. Imogene has grown up being homeschooled by her family, but now faces her biggest adventure yet, going to a public middle school for the first time. Will the principles of chivalry be enough to guide her through? I think an added bonus of this graphic novel is the behind-the-scenes glimpse of Renfest life. Next, I have 2 picture book selections that I want to share with you. The first is called Owls Are Good at Keeping Secrets by Sarah O'Leary. Owls Are Good at Keeping Secrets by Sarah O'Leary is exactly what it bills itself as, an unusual alphabet. Instead of the familiar A is for alligator, etc., readers are challenged to think a little more deeply about the creatures presented. For example, the letter D reveals that dragons cry at happy endings. Kids will see parts of themselves in these adorable creatures and hopefully realize that maybe we all share things in common, no matter how we appear on the outside. Next, we have Drawn Together by Min Lee. Drawn Together is a gorgeous testament to the power of art. A young boy prepares to spend the day with his grandfather, but he is discouraged by the language barrier that exists between them. Through drawing, the two discover a way to communicate that transcends spoken language and creates a unique intergenerational bond. Dan Santat's colorful illustrations seem to move on their own through comic-like panels. This is a great story to share with artists young and old. The rest of my selections today are nonfiction selections that I hope you'll enjoy. The first one is called Chasing Space by Leland Melvin. The Young Reader's edition of Chasing Space by Leland Melvin chronicles the life of this Virginia-born NASA astronaut. When Leland's dreams of playing pro football were shattered by an injury, the ever-hopeful and determined young man set his sights on space. Unfortunately, a training accident that rendered him temporarily deaf almost took that dream from him too. Melvin's story is one filled with challenges, heartbreak, and in the face of it all, hopeful perseverance. He's a great role model for the power of hard work, and just look at his cute doggos. Next, we have The Girl Who Drew Butterflies by Joyce Sidman. The Girl Who Drew Butterflies chronicles the life of Maria Marion, a 17th century woman who used her innate artistic talent and keen observation skills to illustrate the wonderful world of insects around her. Her drawings and observations provided insight that changed our understanding of insect metamorphosis forever. This engaging read is told in the stages of a butterfly's life cycle and peppered throughout with Marion's gorgeous illustrations. This is a perfect girl power read for budding young scientists. Next is All Birds Have Anxiety by Kathy Hoopman. All Birds Have Anxiety is a funny and accessible look at life with anxiety for kids. The author describes anxiety in easy-to-understand terms, and the adorable and sometimes hilarious photos of real birds provide a lift to what could be a heavy subject. If a child is experiencing anxiety for the first time, this book would be a great jumping-off point to discuss and process their feelings. Next, we have Champion, the Comeback Tale of the American Chestnut Tree by Sally M. Walker. Champion, by Sally Walker, tells of the terrible blight in the early 1900s that wiped out most of the American chestnut population and scientists' efforts to carefully rebuild the numbers of this important tree. Young conservationists will be fascinated by this story. And finally, we have 30 Minutes Over Oregon, a Japanese pilot's World War II story by Mark Tyler Nobleman. 30 Minutes Over Oregon is a lesser-known World War II story that celebrates the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. Nobuo Fujita was tasked with invading American airspace to drop bombs in the forests near Brookings, Oregon on September 9, 1942. What followed in the decades after the incident became a shining example of the capacity of human hearts to forgive and understand each other. Hand this title to history buffs and have some tissues handy. Be sure to check out the blog post attached to this video for so many more of my favorite books from our library's collection. I hope you find something that you enjoy there, and I hope that you'll tell me about it the next time I see you. Happy reading, Book Scouts!